folks, we're going to make chicken liver masala in the form of a curry, and for that you'll need finely chopped onions, finely chopped tomatoes, some ginger garlic paste, garam masala, turmeric powder, some jeera, the saunf, there's pepper, that is coriander powder, red chili powder, and there's again the bark of cinnamon and some anise, star anise. And of course you're going to need chicken liver. So to get started, I've taken a large pan and I'm going to put in some oil first, heat it up, then add the onions, bring it to cook it nicely till it turns brown, and then start the rest of the cooking as you'll watch me do it. The oil is nice and hot, and to this I'm going to start with adding the bark of cinnamon and the star anise. Follow that up with the jeera, the saunf, and the black pepper. Now I don't want it to heat too much, just enough to let the flavor out. At this point of time, I'm going to add the onions and let them cook till they are brown. Now what does help with making the onions cook quicker is a little bit of salt. So I'm going to add some salt to this. Salt makes the onions sweat, and that way loses the water in it faster and cooks quickly. So while the onion is cooking, let me tell you what I have. I have about 1 kilogram of chicken liver. I've taken 2 medium-sized red onions and cut them into small little bits. I've also taken 2 large tomatoes and cut them off into small bits. What I have for the masalas is 1 teaspoon of the saunf, 1 teaspoon of jeera, 1 teaspoon of chili powder. You can actually, the chili powder can be added to your taste. You could even add more if you want. In my case, I'm just going to be a little cautious. You can always add more later if you want it. About 3 tablespoons of coriander powder. Taken about 1.5 inches of the bark of cinnamon, 1 star anise, and about a teaspoon of turmeric powder. I will be adding about a teaspoon or tablespoon of garam masala later on. I will also be adding about a tablespoon or a little more of ginger garlic paste. Again, that's dependent on your taste, how you like it. A little bit of ginger garlic paste, a little more doesn't hurt to have, but it's up to each one's individual choice. As you can see, the onion is starting to change color, it's turning more brown, but I like it to be a little more browner before I add the ginger garlic paste to it. The chilies have caramelized nicely, it's reached the level of brownness that I'd like. I'm now going to add the ginger garlic paste to it. Mix it in nicely, let the ginger garlic paste cook in the oil and turns brown. That way it releases its flavor. It's also cooked well, so it adds to the flavor of the chicken liver. I've been cooking all of this in a medium to high flame. You can regulate the heat as you want it depending on how hot your stove may get, but for me that works best. You notice that the mixture of the ginger garlic paste with the onion has also become brown, and the smell of the ginger garlic it's also coming out, the aroma, but at the same time it's not the raw smell. So this is just the perfect time to add the tomatoes in. Now, just as in the case of the onions, the tomatoes also do a great job of letting off the water with a little bit of salt. So I'm going to add just a little bit of salt now to do that. I am using Himalayan pink salt, but you can definitely use your standard white table salt as well, whichever is your preference. I'm going to also add in the rest of the masalas. So here we go. There's the turmeric powder, the chili powder, the coriander powder, the garam masala, and mix it all up nicely. Now what it's going to do is it's going to cook in the liquid coming out of the tomato. If you want to, you can always add a little bit of water at this point of time if it's too dry. As in my case, it seems a little dry, so I am going to add just a little bit of water. That was about a cup of water, just to give it a little bit of a liquid base for it to cook in. And now I'm just going to keep this covered and let it cook. Of course, at some point in time, you're going to have to add salt to taste as well. I prefer to wait a little longer for it to cook before I add the additional salt. So I know exactly how much I need after tasting it at that point of time. So here we go. Take just a little bit more water. And I'm now going to let this cook covered for a little while till all of it reduces down to a paste. The tomatoes cook well and starts letting off the oil from the sides. While we wait for the masalas to cook, just want to let you know the chicken liver takes hardly any time to cook, so it's the last thing that goes in, unlike in the case of goat liver, which takes longer to cook and you might want to cook it for a longer period of time along with the masala. So just in case you're wondering why I haven't added the chicken liver yet, it'll be the last thing I add. At the end of the cooking, you typically garnish this with some coriander, freshly cut coriander. What I found is that it's nice to also add a little bit of the coriander while the masala is cooking. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Just a little bit of the coriander that I've ground for the garnishing later, just to give it that additional flavor of fresh coriander. You could also use curry leaf at this point in time if you want, curry patta, but it's up to your choice really, if you like it. It's been about 8 minutes and I'm going to check on the masala. As you can see, it's cooked well. The oil has started to separate, all along the edges and all over, which means it's ready now for us to add the final ingredients, which is the main dish, which is the chicken liver. Now this chicken liver has been washed in advance, so I'm just going to add to it. Stir it into the masala. Remember that chicken liver is also has a lot of water in it, so it's going to start giving out water. So you might want to wait for it to cook a little bit, let some of the water come out, and then gauge how thick or how thin you want your masala or curry to be. So for now, I'm just going to let this cook. This is when I'll also check on the salt. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt at this point. Just enough to flavor the masala, not too much. You can always add more salt at a later stage if you want to. It's better to have less salt when you're cooking than more, because then it's more difficult to fix it. Now it is rather thick. It will give out some water, but I'm just going to add just a little bit of water to this mix because I want it to be a bit of a curry, not so much of a masala, dry masala. Now as it cooks, this curry will change color. I'm going to cover it now, let it cook probably a few minutes, and then we'll check on it. It's been about 8 minutes since I started cooking. The curry is starting to look good. It's changed color. The liver is also cooking well, but I think it just needs another few more minutes to cook till the liver is completely cooked inside as well, and then it'll be done. I just have to garnish it after that. So sorry about that shadow, but you can take a look at it now. You can see the curry is pretty much cooked. Also notice that it's changed color to a slightly darker, more blacker look than it had in the past. You can test to see if the liver is cooked by pushing down. If it breaks easily, then it's done. If it's not, it still needs to be done just a little bit more. It should take another few more minutes, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and it should be ready by then. It's been about 4 minutes since I last checked. Let me check on this one again. It looks pretty good, well cooked. Now's the test. As you notice, I could go through that liver easily enough. Broke it up. It's nicely cooked inside. It's just the perfect time to take this chicken liver off the stove. I'm switching the stove off. I'm going to garnish it with the remnants of the coriander, fresh coriander leaves that I had cut earlier. And the curry is ready. Bon appetit. Now what you could use this curry with is, you could eat it with rice, with chapatis, with parathas, anything that you like. I'll let you know a little secret. This can actually, if you take a little bit of the liver and a little bit of the curry and puree it, you can actually use it as a spread on bread and kind of make it into a liver sandwich too. So just a quick tip for you. Have fun cooking. See you again for the next video.